This is video 1 of 5 for Chapter 1, Section 3, Exploring Real Numbers. So in the first video, we're going to be looking at what are real numbers and the different definitions of each type. So first of all, real numbers are the set of all natural, whole, integers, rational, and irrational numbers, excluding imaginary numbers. Now, you probably have not heard of imaginary numbers, and we are not going to discuss them during this class, but in a future math class, you will talk about imaginary numbers. So for today, we're going to look at the different sets, the natural, the whole, integers, rational, and irrational numbers. And over here, these are just some examples of different types of real numbers. The number of siblings you have is a real number. Your age is a real number. A temperature and a weather report is a real number. Your shoe size is a real number. How many M&Ms are in a package? That's a real number. So let's look at all the different types of real numbers there are. We're going to start with the set that includes the smallest number of real numbers, and that would be natural numbers. These numbers are your counting numbers. So the numbers are like 1, 2, 3, 4, and this dot, dot, dot right here, that just means and so on. It keeps going on and on and on. So it starts at 1. It includes all the numbers used in counting. And an example of the natural numbers would be how many M&Ms are in a package, because you can actually take out the M&Ms and you can count each one individually. Okay, so that's natural numbers. All right, the next set includes the natural numbers, and it also includes the number 0. So whole numbers. These numbers start at 0. They include all the natural numbers, which are also the counting numbers. So some examples would be the number of siblings you have and how many M&Ms are in a package. That is whole numbers. Then we have integers. Integers are the natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, keep going. The whole numbers, which starts with 0, and also are the negative whole numbers. So all positive and negative whole numbers, including 0. So this dot, dot, dot means that they keep going to the left. This dot, dot, dot means it keeps going to the right. So some examples would be how many M&Ms are in a package. A temperature and a weather report is an integer, so it'd be like -4 degrees, which would be really, really cold. Or it could be 100 degrees, which would be really, really hot, or anywhere in between. Also, the number of siblings you have. You may have 1 sibling, 2 siblings, or no siblings. So you wouldn't have negative siblings, so that definitely is not a negative number, but it is included in the integers because it includes the whole numbers. Okay, so that's integers. Then we have rational numbers. Rational numbers are all the positive and negative fractions, all the positive and negative decimals, including any integers and improper fractions. So the definition of rational numbers, I should say rational number here, not real. The definition of the set of all rational numbers are the rational numbers to be written as a ratio of 2 integers, basically a fraction. So if you can write a fraction out of 2 numbers, that's a rational number. And of course, all fractions have an equivalent decimal. So the irrational numbers could be your shoe size, how many M&Ms are in a package, the number of siblings you have, your age, and a temperature and a weather report. So those are some examples of rational numbers. So rational numbers is our biggest set. It includes the integers, the whole numbers, and the integers. Also, all your fractions and decimals that can have equivalent fractions. Okay. Now, there's another side to real numbers, and that is irrational numbers. They are real numbers that are not rational. That makes sense, right? Okay, so these are some examples. First of all, real numbers that cannot be written as a ratio of integers. So if you have a number that cannot be written as a ratio of integers, it's going to be irrational. For example, Negative square root of 2. Now, let me come back to that. Let me go back down here to this from rational numbers. Square roots can be rational. So just remember what square root of 4 is. Square root of 4 means what number times itself is 4? Well, that's 2. Square root of 9. What number times itself is 9? Well, that answer is 3. Square root of 49. What number times itself is 49? 7. Square root of 64. What number times itself is 64, which would be 8. So these are all rational. Notice they're also all integers. Integers are also whole numbers, and they're also all your natural numbers. Okay, so if we use that same line of questioning about the square root of 2, what number times itself is 2? Well, there's not a whole number times itself that is 2. So this is what some people say, this is not nice. If you put this in the calculator, square root of 2 would be this decimal. It's not going to repeat. It doesn't terminate. It's just this long, ugly looking decimal. So that is considered an irrational number. Same thing for square root of 7. There's no number times itself that's 7. No whole number times itself that equals 7. So that number is not nice. Square root of 19, another not nice number. Now, pi is also a irrational number. Pi is that number that you were probably told about at some point in your life that has a special day attached to it called Pi Day. And yes, we will be looking at Pi Day when that comes around. But pi is a never-ending decimal. It never repeats. It never ends. So it is considered irrational. So these are your examples of some irrational numbers. But square roots, if you can take the square root of a number, like square root of 4, and get a whole number, that is considered rational. It's also considered integer, whole, and natural. Okay, so let's just look at a mapping of real numbers. This is the set of all the real numbers that you're going to be seeing this year. Real numbers, remember, they are decimals that repeat. They're also decimals that terminate. For example, 2/5 is a rational number because 2/5 has an equivalent to 0.4. So those are rational numbers. Now notice that this box also includes everything inside that box. So rational numbers includes integers, whole numbers, and natural numbers. Okay. Now, once we drop off the decimals and the fractions, we're now looking at integers. Integers are the number line that includes 0, all the positive whole numbers going to the right, all the negative whole numbers going to the left, and no numbers in between. So that's your integers. Then notice that integers also, that box is including the whole numbers and the natural numbers. Okay? So we have whole numbers, and that includes 0, and then all your positive whole numbers. Okay? Now notice that whole numbers also includes the natural numbers right here. So it also, that box is containing a smaller box. All right, and then we have the natural numbers. The natural numbers would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your counting numbers. They go on forever. So remember, these dot, dot, dots means it keeps going. All right, then on the other side of our real numbers, of the rational numbers, on the right side here is irrational numbers. These numbers, again, include square roots that are not nice, that don't have a whole number for an answer, and also pi. Okay, so this is the end of video 1, just an introduction to real numbers and their different types of real numbers. Video 2, video 1, this is video 1. Video 2 will have some ways you're going to be using this particular diagram.